Presenting our next Bill of Rights Award is the director of the ACLU's Speech, Privacy, and Technology Project. He's also a principal legal advisor to Edward Snowden. Please welcome Ben Weissner.
Thank you all so much. It's wonderful to be back here at the ACLU of Southern California, where I began my ACLU career 15 years ago. A couple of years ago, a strange thing happened. I noticed that an appealing young movie star had followed me on Twitter. Now, we all know that being an ACLU lawyer is a glamorous job. But this was not an everyday occurrence for me. And if I'm going to be really honest, it was actually the first and only time that this has happened to me. I knew Joseph Gordon-Levitt mainly at that time as the writer, director, and star of the brilliant film Don John, surely the most incisive and penetrating exploration of internet pornography addiction that the world has seen. Maybe he was familiar with the ACLU's litigation that struck down internet censorship laws aimed at sexually explicit content and wanted to see what I might be tweeting about. Soon enough, of course, I learned the real reason for his interest when it was announced that Joe would be starring in another movie about the dangers of technology. Oliver Stone's, that was a joke, people. Oliver Stone's Snowden. Soon after that, Joe and I had a chance to speak for the first time. Joe told me that he had been inspired by Edward Snowden's willingness to sacrifice for his principles. He felt that he should not personally profit from this performance. He had decided that he wanted to contribute his salary from the movie to the ACLU. I did what any rabbi would do when confronted with an overzealous convert. I told him to go away. Think it over, talk to family, friends, come back if he was still serious. Now, of course, Joe wasn't a convert. He's been a lifelong activist. Not only did he come back, but if I called, he raised. His plan was not only would he donate his salary from the movie to the ACLU, but we were going to work together. He was going to fund a collaborative project between the ACLU and his production company, Hit Record. We would team up to produce a series of videos addressing the themes of technology and democracy that Edward Snowden had helped to raise to consciousness. The results, and you saw some of it in the short video, are really a remarkable project called Are You There, Internet? It's Me, Democracy. I'm so proud of that work that we did together, and I hope that all of you will take the time after this event to go and find it online. Joe, I'll always be grateful for your generosity to the ACLU, for the brilliance and skill with which you brought Edward Snowden and his message to life for millions of people around the world. In fact, having gotten to know both you and Edward pretty well over the last couple of years, I can say that I think you have a few things in common. You both could have taken an easy path to a life of comfort. Instead, you've embraced risk and let your values guide your actions. And you both understand that fame is not a status to be enjoyed, it's a platform for changing the world for the better. That was an applause line. Thank you. We've never needed that kind of idealism and commitment more than we do now. Joe, I'm proud to call you my friend and brother in arms, and it's with deep appreciation that I present you with the 2016 Bill of Rights Award. Come on up.
Hey, man, I love you. I was not going to miss this. Ladies and gentlemen, I got to say, Joe, we keep ending up on the same stages, which is a little bit strange at this point. But, I can't think of someone that I'm more proud to congratulate. What you have done has had such an impact on people's understanding of what's going on because, people can see a news report. People can read a news story, they can watch a documentary, and they can get the facts, but they can't get the emotion. They can't understand why it is that it actually matters, what it is that it means on the human level. And you captured something, not just about an individual, not just about a character, not just about me, but about our democracy, about our values, about our system. That honestly, not only I am thankful for, not only my family is thankful for, because I have to tell you, it's a very uncomfortable thing to be represented in a Hollywood film. But it's actually quite reassuring when it's somebody like you. That your work has become something more for all of us, I think. And the fact that you've given so much, not just personally, not just professionally, not just financially, but of yourself, you've given us more of a movement. You have pushed all of us forward, made us think about things that really matter. And ladies and gentlemen, this is something that is vital for all of us. Because I knew the ACLU's work before I came forward. In fact, the very first conversation that I ever had with Ben Weissner I was stuck in sort of a no man's land. My passport had been revoked. I was applying for asylum in 21 different countries around the world, primarily in Western Europe, countries like France and Germany. No one was responding, and it sounded like, I was going to end up where I expected, which was something close to Guantanamo. But the first thing I asked him was, do you have standing now? Can you get the courts to rule on these programs? Because, ladies and gentlemen, this is not about me, this is about us. And this has become so much more important than any of us could have expected given the events of the last week. Our institutions will very soon be challenged. Some of them may come and go. This is a moment that I think we're all fearing. But we should not despair. Because, ladies and gentlemen, I know this from lived experience, and I think many of you understand this as well. You've been in those moments in your life where things get very dark, where the road gets very dangerous. And remember that the times of greatest trouble, it is in these moments that give rise to our greatest courage. When systems fall, when things break down, when our allies are gone, people remain. Don't be afraid of what comes next. Be ready. I have to say this thing. I have to say, I am so proud to stand shoulder to shoulder here with you, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, the ACLU, and everyone in this room. I have to say that no matter what happens, I know that I'm ready, and all of you are too. Let's get to work.
Ladies and gentlemen, Edward Snowden. I'm really glad I took that job. Thank you. Thanks to Ben. Thank you. Thank you, man. Thank you for being here. This is a surprise. I didn't know he was coming.
Turns out I can't keep a secret.
Yeah. So, Ed and I, we met each other in person. We've had a few talks in this sort of medium, but we met each other in person 2 years ago. I had the chance to go to Moscow, and we sat in an office and we talked for about 4 hours. And he and I are pretty different guys in a lot of ways. He's from North Carolina. I'm from California. Did someone just try to applaud for California? I appreciate it. That's cool. There is a bear back here. So. In 2004, another example, in 2004, Ed enlisted in the U.S. Army. I was raised by peace activists, and my mom wouldn't even let me play with G.I. Joes when I was a kid. He risked his life to stand up for what he believes in. I've never risked my life for anything. But we discovered that what we had in common was we both had this profound identification with a certain technology that we'd both grown up with. My dad's right there. My dad, he was always really into computers. And like going way back to the beginning of when personal computers were first available and affordable to consumers, my dad always made sure that we had one in the house. And he encouraged my brother and I to use them and like them. And we sort of, I know it sounds weird, but we sort of fell in love with them. And especially as the technology evolved and computers began to be able to connect with each other. And they formed this worldwide, vast, global, interconnected network that we now know as the internet. I came to feel like this tech, it was sort of the mark of my generation. And that was something that Ed and I talked about a lot. It's something that we both felt and that we both still do, I think, and very deeply. Now, of course, throughout history, every new technology, especially something extremely powerful, it comes with some downsides. And I'll admit, I never even really considered the potential downsides of personal computers and the internet until Edward Snowden shined a light on it. Which, of course, brings us to, if we're talking about downsides, the news of the last week. It brings us to our new president-elect. Because since early last decade, our government has been unconstitutionally repurposing that tech that I was just talking about into the most powerful system of global mass surveillance the world has ever seen. And for me, that was scary regardless of who the president was. But now think about that same mass surveillance system in the hands of a president who's made it pretty clear he doesn't care what the Constitution says unless it happens to benefit him. In 2013, when Edward Snowden first revealed his identity, in a video that was posted to the Guardian website. He said that his greatest fear was that nobody would take the risks necessary to stand up and fight against these systems of control, and that eventually, and I'll quote him here, this is a quote, "A new leader will be elected, they'll flip the switch, and say, because of the dangers that we face in this world, we need more authority, we need more power, and there will be nothing the people can do at that point to oppose it. And it will be turnkey tyranny." It's an ominous prediction. And right about now, it seems prescient. And I gotta say, over this last week, I've had moments of feeling pretty hopeless. But that's why it's all the more important that we are here together tonight to support the American Civil Liberties Union. If this guy right here, if he can risk his life to fight for our future, the least we can do is refuse to give up when things don't go our way. I said a second ago that throughout history, every new and powerful technology has come with downsides, and that's true, but they've also come with upsides. And the question is, which path is the internet going to go down? Either it becomes a technology owned and operated behind closed doors, leveraged by an elite few to guard their wealth and power, or it becomes a technology that allows the human race to all get on the same page and understand each other and care about each other and cooperate and solve our big problems together. And at this point, I could see it going either way. But if we want this technology, if we want, and I'm going to take ownership of it right now, not me personally, but if we want my generation's technology, if we want it to go down that good path, it's going to take some work. It's going to be a fight. And I want to thank the ACLU for being on the front lines of that fight. Thanks again.
Ladies and gentlemen, Joseph Gordon-Levitt.